most people are forcing themselves into these kind of boxes that they feel slightly uncomfortable. They know there's so much more. I have like what I call like my Renaissance formula or positioning formula, which is where you kind of take a skill that you have. Content creation, believe it or not, is a skill like anything else. You could have a fantastic video. The content in that could be amazing. Your years of experience, your unique, everything could be working well. If you don't get the packaging right, no one ever clicked. And I think if you try to play the content creator game as a business owner and that's not what you want to do, you will burn out very quickly. So think about this as an exercise in building trust and value. And if you can build trust and deliver value to 100 people, 50 people, that is going to be incredibly powerful as a business owner, say on a platform like YouTube.
No Bullshit Talks is a podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. There's too much bullshit out there, especially when it comes to business. This podcast aims to highlight what's true and what's not in the world of entrepreneurship, bringing you honest and raw conversations about the roller coaster that is entrepreneurship. Each week, my guest will be a high-performing entrepreneur sharing the ups and downs of their journey and helping you prepare for the road ahead, while providing you with actionable insights and absolute gems of knowledge. Stay tuned as I introduce this week's guest. Adama Lorna is an engineer by trade, currently at Ticketmaster, but she's also a YouTuber with over 180,000 subscribers, a powerlifter and an oil painter. In a world that tells you to pick a lane, Adama has built an entire movement around doing the opposite and proving that having multiple passions is not a weakness, it's a strategy. I present to you this week's guest, Adama Lorna. Welcome, Adama, to No Bullshit Talks.
Thank you. Very excited to be here.
I'm very excited for you to be here because I feel like you are a multi-passionate woman like myself, which is why obviously we're connected. And I really like to hear from other multi-passionate women who are confident about being that as well. That's the thing, whereas not sort of thinking, I shouldn't be doing that. I'm doing too much and they're shying away from it or they're seeing it as a negative thing. So I'm very excited to have you on the podcast today. And on that note, I want you to introduce yourself because I always find it the hardest question. When people go, Sabrina, what do you do? I'm like,
where do I start? What part of me do you want?
So for someone who is, self-proclaimed multi-passionate, promoting multi-passionate, how would you describe yourself, Adama?
Lovely. So we're starting with an easy question. I usually describe myself as, I'm a senior engineer, so that's like what occupies a lot of my time. But I am someone who's been dedicated for the last few years to creating resources and content for multi-passionate people. So that includes my YouTube channel, which I have been doing for over 6 years now, which is insane to think. It involves my in-person events. It involves all the resources I create. I spend a lot of time on that aspect of my life. And then it's all supported by the actual multi-passionate life that I live. So like my art, I started oil painting a few years ago, powerlifting, I've been doing that for most of my 20s. So yeah, just an all-rounder. But like, that's what I've been spending most of my time doing over the last few years. It'll always evolve. I'll probably add another 4 things on, like the next time we talk. But for now, that's what I would describe, or how I describe myself.
Amazing. Yeah, that's a huge amount of things, which is great. I love it, obviously. But what do other people think when you tell them that you do all these sort of things? And how do you kind of, if you're out networking? Because I think, a lot of people who I speak to and watch the channel are entrepreneurs. They are also multi-passionate entrepreneurs, but they're out at networking events. They're trying to get out there and talk about things. And then people go, what do you do? Like, do you reel off this list of stuff? Because people go, slow down, guys. I just wanted one thing. Like, I don't need your whole life. And you get, almost people make it as a negative thing.
Right.
Like, how have you felt like people react to all the things that you do and you know, who you are?
I think it's changed a bit. I think when I was a bit younger and I would like describe some of the things I did, it was definitely met with a bit of like, there's a lot going on here. Like you're doing a lot, which was understandable because like the more you start to reel off, the more harder it is for people to grasp what they should like latch onto, I think.
Yeah.
Although the more that I own and lead with the multi-passionate like dimension, it's almost a setup. So now when I tell you like all the rest of the things I do, like the context is there. But when I think about, or when I answer the question like how should I be introducing myself, I think you should be context aware a little bit. So like, if, for example, I'm in a tech space or like a space that is aligned with maybe more my career stuff, I will lead with that, like the engineering, the fact that I'm a senior engineer, and then to tag on the other stuff afterwards. Worse, if I'm in more of a creator kind of setting, I will lead with that. So I think definitely leading with the context in which you're in and maybe like kind of what you're optimizing for. I know that sounds kind of like intense for networking, right? Because I do think fundamentally networking is like making connections with other cool people.
Mhm.
But if you're in a space and you know that there are certain opportunities or certain people that you want to connect with, using that context to decide what isn't relevant. And there'll be times when I don't need to list the fact that, like, I'm a power lifter and this and that
Mm,
if I don't feel like it's necessary.
mhm,
If I think it will add to the
mm,
conversation or add to this
mm.
intro, then I'll be like, yeah. So when you're multi-passionate, I feel like you do have to work a little bit more on the fly, but that's just the fun of it. Otherwise, if it was just one thing, then it would be easy and you'll
Yeah.
be doing it. Yeah.
But I actually like that because there's strategy involved, right? And obviously I'm all big about strategy, and I'm always about intentions as well, because I think that's one of the things that are missing from a lot of entrepreneurs' lives. I think that naturally as an entrepreneur, you're spontaneous, you're creative, you're out there, you just want to do things, you've got loads of ideas. But then it's like you said, you walk into a room and the people who get the most out of life, they're almost calculating. And I know that's probably a very negative word, it can be used,
Yeah.
but actually there's a good way of calculating. It's just thinking ahead, like you said, analyze those opportunities. So, like you said, you're not going to mention randomly that you're a powerlifter, but actually in a situation where it adds a bit of edge to you, or like you're in a room full of software engineers, how do you then stand out? Like, so that's, you're not going to be, oh, another software engineer or whatever. You can actually
Yes.
you add that to it. And I think that's the same as myself. Like, we were just talking earlier about niching, and how many chess masters out there are there? Like, I'm the only black female chess master in the UK. Like, that's something that instantly makes me stand out, and I'm the only one in the
Only,
room.
yeah.
But I'm not going to randomly say that in every single room, but because it's just going to look really bizarre.
okay,
It's like,
thank you.
that's totally not relevant right now. But in some situations where people are talking about strategy, or other people are talking about chess these days because of how popular it is, I will bring that up
Yeah.
because naturally people are like, oh,
It's
like,
an edge. Like, yeah, you stand
and
out.
then they remember you because you're someone that's a little bit different. Like, how many software engineers are powerlifters? Like, that's got to be something really cool. Like I said, oil painting as well, just to add to the mix, and it shows you're an all-round person.
Yeah.
And I think that, after speaking to you about this, because I feel like I always used to get a lot of negativity about, I'm doing too much. That was a thing. It's not I'm doing a lot, I'm doing too much.
Yes.
Like,
Very
it's too much
specific
for
language.
me. Like, I can't cope with it if I keep going on with that. And, it really made me think about it. But, speaking to you, and you were so confident about it, and you were so like, you saw it as a positive. And I think that's one of the first messages I said to you. I was like, it's so refreshing to have someone so
I remember
positive
you saying
about
that,
it. And it's like, I just thought there must be so many more people like that out there who are shying away from who they really are, what they truly love to do. And must be so many people out there almost like miserable, doing a tiny fraction of what they want to do in life. But actually, if they embraced it all and didn't see it as a negative, how much happier could they be?
I completely agree. And I didn't grasp just how many people there were until I made a YouTube video on this that kind of went viral, if you'd like. I think it's at several 100,000 views now. And there are like thousands or at least hundreds of comments of people being like, I thought I was the only one. Like, people are literally like, or people always tell me like I had problems or defaulted to you have ADHD, which some people do, but a lot of people just don't. They just have multiple passions, right? And it was so interesting to see that kind of that visceral feeling of people feeling like, oh, somebody sees me, and it's not in an insane way. And I think there are a lot of people who are boxing themselves in. And it's not just on the individual, right? Like, society's kind of been set up in a way that it's optimized for you do one thing and you learn one thing and then you just do that. And that's it. And that's the route to success. And so that's why most people are forcing themselves into these kind of boxes that they feel slightly uncomfortable. They know there's so much more. But they just perhaps don't know how to navigate it, or like navigate this world in that way, which is what I try to do with my content, or I try to bring like what I've learned from engineering, that systems thinking, that framework, the structured approach to a lot of what I talk about when it comes to like living a full multi-passionate life, because I'm still like ambitious. I still want to achieve things. And a lot of the people who I say watch my channel are very similar, but it's like, so how do I make it work? Like, how do I connect all of these things? And that's what I've been enjoying exploring over the years. And then as I learn, I share. So that's pretty much my process. Learn something, iterate, try to apply it, and then share it with others. So
I think that's the best way. And that's what obviously makes really good content. That's why
Yeah.
people subscribe. But I think you said about, how people are stuck in this box. And it makes me think about the content that's out there and generally like personal branding. Because I think that I see a lot of that stuff. I'm in that space where every founder needs to have a personal brand or get told they need to have a personal brand. And there's all these experts who teach you a certain way of building this personal brand, which a lot of the time, in line with this topic, is that it's bullshit, right? It's a lot of it's bullshit.
Yeah.
And I think that there are a lot of people, like you said, who resonate with that video that you did on being multi-passionate. How on earth do you build a personal brand that's supposedly niche as well? Because everyone said you have to niche down, you have to do this. And there's all these rules around being successful, being seen, being known for one thing. That is how you
Yes.
supposedly get success. But how do you do that if you are into so many things?
Yeah.
Because I remember we worked closely with LinkedIn on like to do this, to create masterclasses for founders. And lots of the time, the questions directly to LinkedIn was, what do I do if I have lots of things I want to talk about? Like I talk about a billion different things, and it's I've done all right for myself, but they do connect, like you said about
Yes.
systems. There is a connection there, and there's a clear underlying theme. But what about if you don't quite have that yet? Or what if you're not there? Or you just like so many different things and you want to talk about so many different things? What advice would you give to people who are in that space? And how do you build a personal brand if you just love so many different things? Like,
Yeah, it's a question that I have gotten so many times, and it's a really good question. Like, I have my own take on this. I think your personal brand, often the way people see it now, has some sort of end goal or set of objectives that it's trying to optimize for. Like, is it around your business, or is it around, like, I don't know, what you're doing at work or your personal life? Like, that kind of context helps when you're deciding what should be in the brand and what shouldn't. And I have this conversation. I think it's important to separate what you think the public should know about you and what's just for you. Like, I have this list of things, but I don't necessarily feel the need to talk about my oil painting all the time. Like, sometimes I might dot it in, but like, it's not crucial that I show you every painting I do, or like every time I'm at the gym. And so those are things that I know that are about me and they're part of me, but I don't feel the need to embed it at the forefront of my personal brand. And that's because I know there's certain things that I may be optimizing for or thinking about as I'm building this brand. Like, I want it to open opportunities for me to speak with very cool people or to build my business in certain ways. So I think when you have that understanding, then you can separate what's going to be included and what's not. Then applying, I feel like, a little bit more structure. I have like what I call like my Renaissance formula or positioning formula, which is where you kind of take a skill that you have, so something that you have proven ability in, usually you've been paid for it, like work or business, and then you overlay that, or what should I say? Layer that on with a passion. So something that you maybe have never been paid for, but it's something that you care deeply about. You multiply this by your energy. These are things that are unique to you, the way you show up, that other people just don't, right? And I think that's usually forgotten about when we talk about the personal brand. Because I look at other creators, some of them are very loud, and I'm like, that's not me. And when I think at first, and like when I first got online, I thought, oh, that's how I maybe have to be, until I realized no. And so many of the comments I used to get were about my energy and like the way that I show up. And I realized this is something I need to lean into. And then all of that, though, I say, is to the power of your values, because those are the things that govern just the way that you approach life. For me, like, freedom in all senses, so geographical, creative freedom, are really important to me, as is the whole multi-passionate living. And so when you have, I feel like, that anchor point and you know what you're centering things around, then the other things can exist on the periphery. So sometimes you talk about them, sometimes you don't, but at least you have an anchor point that isn't still just, I only speak about my skill, but it's laid on with all these other things. But it's easier to create a through line, like the story, like you said, there was a connection with what you speak about when you have this anchor point. And that's what I've been applying, I think, to my own life, the women that I work with, like, and when I kind of shared that online on YouTube, I had a very, very great response of people like, this is kind of what I'm looking for, something that doesn't, confine me to just, oh, I'm an engineer, but it's not so broad that I don't know what to talk about, or I'm never known for anything. So I think that has been perhaps one of the most, again, through my own trial and error, through trying to work this out myself, and then applying maybe a more engineering principle, like, how do I systemize this? How do I put this in something that other people can apply? And people have been able to see really great results with it. So that's been a really cool thing for me.
I really like that. And it's making me think about myself, and I'm thinking like, what are my bits of the
Bits and
recipe?
the elements of
And
it.
actually, what we talked about earlier was it makes sense, the whole chess for business thing that I do. And obviously, I was a chess professional. That was a big thing I did. And I also do, obviously, business workshops, and I've obviously run my own business, but I now go into corporates and I run, like, I do business solving using chess, which is a very unique angle. No one else is doing that. And again, the energy wise, I've obviously, I'm very, like, bubbly, I guess. I don't know what the word is.
I know. I always default to bubbly, but I'm yes.
I mean, like, I have a lot of energy, a different type of energy, right? Obviously, that you're saying, but I'm obviously very passionate about what I do and I talk about it, and I have a very different angle because lots of chess players see it straight through the chess lens. I obviously have an MBA as well, so I have the business lens, and I have so much experience, and I interweave them, and I just feel like it's a very unique thing, and it's made me think about like that's the sort of thing I've been doing, but not actually with a true formula. But
Yeah.
it's sort of there, and actually now thinking about the formula, I can probably tweak things and
Yeah.
find other things that opportunities that I've got that I don't realize I've got, which is quite
Yeah.
nice, I think. So
Yeah. And I think like even the way you're describing like how your things come together, I think we're at a point now where this is the future, I feel like, of like people who are successful. It's like how your elements and how they come together and how you allow that to create impact in the world. Like for other people's lives, like you say, you go into organizations and work with their teams and things of that nature, because there's a lot of information out there about how to just do one thing well, like chess or for example this. But like, okay, we're entering a new world, right? And like we're now, the artificial intelligence is here or has been here for a while, but is at the forefront now. And these all other emerging technologies and ways of living and what the future looks like. And I think it will be more dynamic. I think you'll see people who are trying to lean into more of their unique combinations. And people will gravitate towards that. They'll gravitate towards you because of those nuances, because of the layers, because of the way those things are coming together. And then your unique look on the world, your angle, because of all of this. Because if you remove even one of those, your angle will change. Like you remove the chess and it's not the same person, right? It's yeah. So I find it very interesting. And I love speaking to people who are leaning into that, even if it feels a bit uncomfortable, because it is. I'm not gonna lie. Like at the beginning, when you're trying to work it out, it would be a lot simpler probably if I just went with the engineer.
yeah.
It probably would be a lot simple. Like we were just speaking, like if I just made content about engineering, how to get into engineering, I'm sure that could have done well. It wouldn't have made me happy. And I realized very quickly I wouldn't be in the game long enough to see results. So I was like, you might as well just do what you want to do, work it out. It will be slower, like your growth perhaps on YouTube will be slower as you work this out. But I feel like getting to where I'm now and the audience that I've been able to grow and the community I've built are more aligned with me than if I was just like engineering and that's it.
So I'm glad you brought up the YouTube stuff, because I definitely want to ask you about it. And you just said something that I think is so helpful to anyone who's creating content on YouTube. Like you said, it's easier to talk about the software engineering, but you've got to do what makes you happy. And I remember when we first spoke, and you said that because you were talking about that, and I said, "Oh, I'm just starting out on YouTube. I'm still experimenting. I don't know what I'm doing." And you're like, "Just do what you enjoy doing as well." I think I'm still working out what that is, but you blew up on YouTube. Like you said, you've been doing it for 6 years. And I think YouTube is probably, I would say, it's one of the hardest channels to grow on. I think from the perspective of the effort to results ratio, right? That's what I think it is. Because it's like everything else, you just post a picture and do it. It's not that much text. Yeah, it's like, and then you could get a bit lucky. And also, obviously, there's lots of dodgy ways to manipulate algorithms, buy followers, buy all that stuff. But on YouTube, you don't really have the same thing. I know people can buy the views, but it doesn't actually help.
It doesn't
channel.
really work.
Yeah. So, and actually damages your channel, right? So actually, this is what I think is people don't realize. But YouTube's a lot of effort, and I respect anyone who's done well on YouTube because they have had to stick with it. They must have spent endless hours, time, money, effort, tears, like just to, get to where they are. And I guess I want to know, like, what made you stick with it. I guess it's like, so you've been doing it 6 years, so it shows you obviously doing that. I guess I've got a few questions. It's like, how long before you started to see traction was, I guess, the first thing? Because I think, I've heard loads of different things. People say, don't talk to me if you've done 100 videos or whatever, because I've got to learn from it. But it's also, it takes time. It's often takes money, especially if you're not, paying editors or whatever. How do you stick with something if you don't see the results coming in? It's that delayed gratification, right? How do you keep doing it, knowing it's going to be worth it, knowing that at some point it will take off? But when does that some point come? You just don't know. And it's like, how do you keep motivated to keep going until you get those results? Because obviously when you do, God, that's rewarding and that's satisfying. It's paid off. But it feels like nothing's ever coming. And most people stop right before you actually do see the results. But how has your journey been, and how have you managed to do that?
Stick with it. Just as you were saying that, like, people quit just before. It's always that image, the one of the gold. Like a man digging the gold, and then people stop just before. That always comes to my mind. But like, how did I stick with it? I think for starters, I actually enjoyed the process. And I know when people say, like, it's not about the end goal, it's about the journey. The end goal, I like that I have my subscribers and that I built this. But I did genuinely enjoy the process of making videos, because it's not just showing up on camera. It's just taking an idea that I have, or something that I've learned, distilling this so that it can be consumed and understood by someone else. And perhaps it's because I did enjoy teaching, like when I was younger, and like that part of like the whole process. And then showing up, then being able to edit it in the way that I wanted to and add all this spin, and then publish it and then get that feedback. I actually enjoyed that process. Now I'm not so keen on the editing part because it just takes up so much time. But I think that was helpful. So like if you can optimize for the parts of the process you like and outsource the rest, that can be quite helpful in staying in, especially if you're a business owner. And so like time is quite important to you and you have the resources and the money to, you know, outsource, do that, outsource the editing. And if you just like talking about what you love, do more of that bit. I think I always saw YouTube as a long-term play. Like, and it was hard at times because you make a video, like you said, I might spend at the beginning like 12 hours on a video when I was really doing my edits and like wanting to do all this like flashy stuff.
12 hours.
Oh yeah, from the time like, okay, ideation and planning. I don't script videos. It's just usually some bullet points. So I find that easier to riff off of bullet points. But like the editing process at the beginning, especially when you're clunky and like you don't know how this Final Cut Pro works, like it took a long time. And I remember it used to take so long even just to publish. I don't know what was going on my internet back then. And so you still have that feeling like I wish this had done better because you've invested all this time. But I think I could see that if I did this for long enough and I worked on improving in this for long enough, it was inevitable that I would do well. I didn't know if it would look like 10,000, 100,000, a million.
How do you know it's inevitable though? Because I feel like when you spend lots of time and you think an idea is great and you know it's worthwhile content and then you upload it and it gets 9 views.
Yeah.
Because that's where mine's at.
Yeah.
It gets 9 views and you spent so much time and effort on it. And you know if people saw it, they'd be like, oh, that's great. And those 9 people have said it's great.
Yeah, those 9 people are rallying behind
They
you.
love it. But it's 9 views at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And as much as I speak out about it, don't ignore vanity metrics. Like, you know, it's not relevant. But at the same time, you need to feel that your idea is validated, that what you're doing is worthwhile. And yes, it's just 9 people. But those 9 people could all turn into clients. And that's actually a lot of money. But it's still... We are all human.
We still want that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We still want to see, and it's not just that it's 9 people. You also want to see progress, right?
That's the key, I think,
So whether
yes.
it's 9, then it goes to 15, you're like, oh, okay, that, you know that. But you want to see progress. Whereas, like, I might then hit like 500 views, and then suddenly the next one goes to like 50, and you're like, oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah,
And
you're
it's
like, am I getting worse?
yeah. And then it's like, okay, I don't, and you can't find. And I'm a chess player. I'm patterns, and I'm seeing all the data. I want the data, and there's no correlation. I don't know what it is, and so you're trying to work it out, and it's tough.
It is.
So when you said it's inevitable
Yes.
that you're gonna see success, yes, we all tell each other that, but how do you know it's inevitable?
Yeah, how do you? I think for me, I have a sense of self that I believe I can learn anything and apply myself and then get good at something. I just think I have enough evidence from my past of going from like, you know, not knowing anything about a subject to then getting very good at it. And content creation, believe it or not, is a skill like anything else. But you touched on something that I think is quite important with YouTube especially. It's as a platform that is challenging in many ways that the others are not, especially because this idea that someone has to choose your content. This is very different to the other platforms where you're just, people are served up to you and then, you know, you don't have to engage in this decision-making process, which means people often misinterpret or basically forget that you could have a fantastic video. The content in that could be amazing. Your years of experience, your unique, everything could be working well. If you don't get the packaging right, no one ever clicks.
Yeah.
And so those 9 views might not be like indicative of the quality of that video, but actually of the packaging and that you weren't able to capture people's attention. And so like once you're on the process and start to learn a little bit more about that, and like I used to become, I'm quite obsessed with YouTube. So like I would watch podcasts like Colin and Samir talking about it, or like Think Media, and like, and so diving deeper into what makes a good piece of content and what makes it clickable. And so the balance of getting all of this right in YouTube makes it more challenging, but I also think it makes it more worthwhile for me when it hits. Like, it's that idea that it's harder, but there's also less competition, I feel like, when you're on the other side. Like the idea of the dip. Like you'll lose more people on YouTube than you will on trying to make TikToks because it's just so much. It is much more harder.
Yeah.
But the return on investment once you're past that can be greater than all the other platforms.
Because you've outlasted everyone else. Like you said, the TikTok, everyone's on TikTok. It's very easy to do. It's low barrier to entry. So you've got millions of people who are making content.
Anyone could do it tomorrow.
Pretty decent. But it's like YouTube, the people who survive will profit off that because they survived and they get the rewards. I do like
survival of the
that.
fittest. Like, yeah.
And I'm all for that. And I think that's why I'm sticking out with it. Even though I've been doing it a while now, it feels like a while and I still don't feel like I'm good at it. But I'm learning, obviously. And I think like, I also believe that long long-term strategy. As I said, like with the chess mindset, it isn't a quick win, it isn't a hack, it's the long-term thing. And you know what, I have one client, some them saying, actually, I saw your YouTube video and I've signed a client from it.
See
So
already, yeah.
monetary wise, I've made money from it
Yeah.
because I've signed a client from that. And I'm like, oh damn, that's shows it's worth it. I think that again, it's a position of authority, and I think those people who are explaining things, it's another way of you know, showing what you do. And I think it's also helped to speaking gigs, because I can refer to a topic I've done and I can show and they can see how I speak and how I come across, and it's almost like a free audition, and it's really easy, that sort of sense. But it's tough, and I think that, like you said earlier, so I think something I've noticed and something I talk about in my content is that there's a very big difference between being a content creator and a business owner.
100%.
And I think this is what I've noticed. So you mentioned Think Media, you mentioned Colin Samir. I've been absorbing a lot of their content because, again, I'm sitting there going, how do I do YouTube? Like, you know, so I've obviously found all these guys and they're great stuff. But I think so much content out there is geared at content creators. And content creators do need to monetize attention. And it is about your views. And like, you've got your nice plaque and you've got all those things and you're monetizing. It's a different strategy.
100%.
Whereas I just said, like, I want a client off a video that got 26 views.
Yes.
And it's a very big difference. But like to a content creator, that's a massive flop.
Yeah.
To me, that was a success.
It's great, yeah.
It's huge. And I think the way I've been describing it is content creators monetize attention, business owners monetize solutions.
Yeah.
And I think there's a difference in terms of the creations and what they do. Now, where you sit, you're a bit of both.
Yeah.
And so, you know, this is why, again, the multi-passionate, I think it's quite nice having you here. How do you create a strategy? Because most of my listeners and viewers are going to be business owners. Yes. They're going to be entrepreneurs. They don't want to be content creators, but they feel like they are forced into being content creators because we have to do our daily LinkedIn. We feel like we have to also post on Instagram because other people are there. Then we feel like, I've got clients now, got off a call this morning going, do I start a podcast? Do I start a YouTube channel? Like, they feel like they have to because everyone else is doing it. And I'm sitting here with all of those things and probably not doing it very well. I probably should cut them off, you know, but, you know, I also enjoy the process and I'm learning from it. But what do business owners do that's different to content creators? And you doing both, like you said, you've got intentions and you're intentional about how you do it. How is it different for each, and how do you show up as both?
It's actually such a good question. I'm actually glad that you pulled out the difference between the approaches because, like you said, content creators are monetizing attention. So views matter, and like ever increasing views ideally is the goal in the sense of like increasing revenue for a business owner. And I think if you try to play the content creator game as a business owner and that's not what you want to do, you will burn out very quickly. You'll just inevitably, because you don't want to play this game. This game is actually very challenging now because there is more competition across all the platforms. And so what you have to be working out is, one, what platforms actually make sense for you to be on? It is not all of them. The answer is almost never every single platform. And there's two ways I think as a business owner you decide this is, where's my audience? Like, where is my ideal customer? Because if they're on LinkedIn and not TikTok, you don't need to be making TikToks. Or if they're on YouTube and they're not on Instagram, you need to be on YouTube. But you also want to combine that with where you also like to make content. So like, I realized quite recently that I don't really enjoy making short form content very much, like short form videos. And I noticed that's probably why I always fall off in a way that like, I've been able to do YouTube for 6 years, but yet TikTok, Instagram, these don't feel as natural to me. And so I have to decide like, what makes sense in terms of what's easier for me to show up and what I enjoy doing more. Some people like writing and they're not as much of a fan as being on video, in which case maybe LinkedIn is the place for you to be. So I think deciding the platforms that make sense for you in both, like I said, where your audience is, where your customer is, and where you want to be, that's like the first thing. And forget everything else, cut it off. That idea of decision, decide like the death of all the other ones, forget those. And then you want to think about showcasing, I think, your expertise in a way that doesn't feel like salesy all the time. Because no one wants to be like, oh, this person is just like here to sell me their offer, like, or sell me their product or their service. So a lot of it is about giving free game as a business owner and like genuinely trying to help your ideal customer before they even get to you. Because like if they can see that value in your YouTube video or your LinkedIn and they're able to apply things already before they've even got to the point where they're like paying you for anything, this relationship and the trust is being built up. So think about this as a exercise in building trust and value. And if you can build trust and deliver value to 100 people, 50 people, that is going to be incredibly powerful as a business owner, say on a platform like YouTube or LinkedIn. And so I think coming at it like that, stop playing the game of the content creator if you know that that is not what you're going for. Like, see the value in using these channels, these platforms to further your business and the impact you want to have. Because this is what it is. I think if you're a business owner, these platforms are a marketing channel. They are an opportunity for you to get closer to your customer or the people that you want to impact ultimately, right? You want to create change for these, transformation for these people. This is just a step for them to get to know you better. And then they can decide, like, this is capitalism. Everyone gets to decide if they want to pay for you or not. You are just effectively showcasing that I'm here. I know some stuff. Like, I enjoy talking about this stuff. And if you want to dive deeper and work with me, here's how to. Make sure that's also there, like in your description on YouTube or in your LinkedIn. Like, make it easy for people to connect with you if they want to, because that's also a place people go wrong. They're like, how do I go deeper with you? Like, I've actually watched this video of you. I've now binged like 4 of your YouTube videos. I want to work with you, whatever it is you do, and I don't know how. So that's like another step. And if you're thinking like a business owner, you need to make that next step easier. Because if I'm just a content creator, I've got what I need from you, maybe in the views.
Yeah.
If you click on anything I have in there, unless it's like an affiliate link or something like that, I don't really care. As a business owner, I want to make that easy for you, capture you, get you into like, into my ecosystem so that I can continue to nurture the relationship.
That is where I go wrong.
Yeah.
I think I focus so much on giving a value that I forget that actually, hi guys, I actually am available for work. You can also find me here. And I just assume, I'm like, well, I'm so easily Googleable. People just Google it. No, that requires effort. That's another step for them to do. I need to put clicks in there. I need to say, oh, actually, here's a free guide that I talk about in the thing, like if you want to go further. And I think that is something that I definitely forget, and I need to be more active with, because it's actually just make it as easy as possible for people to work with you. And it's the same as what I say in business in terms of networking. It's all in the follow-up as well, like what people do. Like, people consistently out there meeting great people. They network, they go to an event, they go on Zoom or however they network, and then meet someone amazing, and that was fantastic, that person could potentially be a client. They never follow up.
They never follow up.
And this is again with the numbers game. Like you said a minute ago, 50 to 100 people. If you had that many people in your network, it's amazing. I sat down with another business owner the other day, and I was saying to him, like, we don't need to meet more people. We have so many great people in our network. If we converted 1% of our network, we
good.
have loads of money.
Yes.
Like, we just don't need any more. Why are we trying to chase more people? So all we need to do is actually go back to the people we already know and actually network with them, delve deeper into those relationships. You're not even starting at zero. You're already starting at like halfway there because you've already met them. But we don't follow up. We forget about it because we're chasing the new people.
Exactly.
It's that dopamine hit again. It's like the same thing with followers and the views. It makes sense as a creator if they require views. As a business owner, they don't.
Yeah.
And I think this is what I try to drill into people. And I'm so glad what you mentioned, because I think that so many business owners are watching content and they are worried. They feel like they have to be on all these channels. And like you said, work out where your audience is, because I think so many people aren't doing that and they're assuming they want everything.
Yeah.
I guess I actually would like to hear a bit more about your businesses, because like I said, you're a software engineer by day. I feel like,
Software engineer
by night.
Yeah,
right?
thank you.
But like you're kind of building different businesses as well on top of it. Tell us more about those and how you're also using content for those. I feel like that would also give some context into, because obviously you're multi-passionate, and Renaissance woman stuff is almost like for you, right? But it's connected to your business because you just started something with that, which I want to talk about. But like, how do they all connect? So what are your businesses currently? And how are you creating content for them?
Yes, I was saying I have a few income streams. I do brand deals sometimes, but they are not at the top of my list of ways that I want to monetize or like make a living from what I do. So I have a business that I started relatively recently, which is called the Multi-Passionate Professional, where I effectively have women on my program and we walk through how you create a brand that actually leads to opportunities whilst maintaining true to a sense to your multi-passionate nature. So how do we bring this together? We do a lot of work around the formula that I shared with you, and how to bring this together in alignment with your goals. And so that's been an incredible process right now. Like seeing their transformation. We're like 5 weeks in at the moment from like when they came to me at the beginning, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I know that I want to be out there. I know I want to create impact. And I want to be able to work and make money in a way that feels true to me, what I'm good at and what I care about. But I don't know how to make this all make sense. And so that is I would say my primary focus at the moment is this business, this program, making it the best possible program, and seeing where that goes. And so in terms of how do I make content around that, I know already who I'm speaking to. I've been speaking to them for years. I'm speaking to me, like I'm the multi-passionate woman who's ambitious, like I said, but is aware that building a brand is a tool. It is a point of leverage for you. So how
Mm.
do I do this in a way that makes sense for me? And again, without being chronically online, because I want to spend less time online, despite the fact that I'm a proponent of the personal brand. It's changed my life. Like
Uh-huh.
my YouTube channel, even my LinkedIn and my TikTok, to an extent, have changed the opportunities I have access to, without a shadow of the doubt. That does not mean I want to live online. Like I'm actually had enough of a lot of
Yeah,
this online.
I'm the same. Basically, I do not take it for granted the fact that I have got a great LinkedIn, a great and all that sort of stuff and opportunities. But oh yeah, if I didn't have to use social media, I don't think I would.
Yeah, I completely understand that. And so that's what we do. The first part is all about positioning. And then we use only two platforms. It's YouTube and LinkedIn. I'm not interested in the rest. I think these two platforms, LinkedIn has an incredible return on investment. I think if you are a professional woman who is trying to get to certain opportunities, speaking, careers, clients, it just makes sense as a platform. And I feel like YouTube, that's my first love. And I feel like it allows depth. And so I bring them along that journey with all my years of experience and growing. I think I'm at about 185,000 subscribers at the moment. So like I carry all of this and
Mm.
this knowledge with me and make this process easier, speed it up, give them feedback throughout, build my system with them. So that's my primary one, and I speak to them directly in my content. I don't make all my content about like personal branding. I don't think I would enjoy that either, to be honest. So sometimes I make direct content that is helpful so that even if, again, you just watch my content, you would be able to work with that and get further. Then if you decide, but I want to work closer with you, Adama, like I like the idea of working with you over 4 months and we get to this end goal faster, you give me feedback along the way, I use your systems, I use your process, then that's just there. Like we said, we leave that option in the description. You can access me and stay connected in that way. And some of the content is just generally speaking to that audience. Like I recently did a video on like what it means to be free, or like freedom for a Renaissance woman from a multi-passionate woman. And that again will bring my audience, my community closer to me. We can have the conversations. We have conversations in the comments. I recently created a school community so we can have more of a dialogue as well. And so I think there's kind of two ways you can look at it. Directly making content around your offer, like links directly to it, the personal branding, and then just speaking more generally to some of the pain points of your audiences, all the desires, all the just the cool stuff that you're doing so that it still stays fresh. Like again, I think I have a video on my channel where I went to Florence for a week to do oil painting. It's not necessarily directly linked to personal branding, but it does link to who I want to speak to, the multi-passionate
Mm.
woman who wants to do things like that and have opportunities to do things like that. So that's how I think about my content. Sometimes more direct, sometimes let's just have cool conversations about stuff we care about.
But even that is like, I was like, wow, you told me that. I want to see that because I'm just fascinated. I don't do oil painting. I'm not really interested in oil
Yeah.
painting, but I want to watch that video now because I'm intrigued that you went all the way to Florence. You immerse yourself in that, and it just helps get to know you. It's another layer of you, and so
Yeah.
those who are connected with you, it just brings them closer to you. And I think that's what's important. So I don't think that every video needs to be, like you said, a personal brand video. It has to be
Yeah.
about doing stuff. It's actually also that connection. I think that's the difference with YouTube, isn't it? That you really get to know
Know the
someone.
person, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot more challenging to put on a persona for if I some of my videos are like 20, 30 minutes. Like,
Hmm.
and they don't all have to be like, even if it's a 10-minute video, it's very different how you show up in a 60-second TikTok.
Yeah.
Like you will
Exactly.
inevitably hear as certain things about them and they slip in stories, or like, maybe a few accents come out, or like you could tell they're probably from South London, or like, like all those things come out, I feel
Yeah.
like, when you're on YouTube, and people can connect with you. Some of my favorite creators are the ones I get to see more of them.
Yeah.
And there's a line I always say, I don't believe in authenticity for the sake of just sharing everything about yourself, the things that you're not comfortable having online. Like if you don't want your family or things like that online, don't feel like you have to, because we're all doing a personal brand. But at the same time, you can showcase parts about you that are not directly linked to your offer, like I said. And sometimes it's that connection that makes people want to work with you. Like they already know they might want to work with somebody on personal branding or business strategy. But actually, now that they saw that side of you, they're like, oh, yeah, I could work with that person for
Yeah.
4 months. Yeah, actually, we have that thing in common. And I
Mm.
like the way they think about that. Or I like the fact that they went to that place and did that
Mm.
thing. That's the type of person I'd want to work with.
I feel like I've shared a few random things about myself. And again, like being multi-passionate is always something that people learn and they're like, I didn't know that. And they go, that makes you even more interesting. And people say things like that. And I'm like, oh, like never really thought it was a big thing.
Yeah,
or
it's
anything.
just
Like,
me.
yeah, exactly. And people find it interesting. They like the different layers of who you are. And I think that's it. I really like the bit you said about don't share things about your family if it doesn't make you comfortable. And like the whole authentic thing drives me mad, because I have to even now describe myself as authentically authentic.
Yeah.
Because I'm just
authentic
like,
is not really enough
I'm
anymore.
actually authentic, not the authentic that
I'm
means like,
actually
you know what I
authentic.
mean? It's just like,
I'm really about this.
yeah. It's like I'm authentically authentic, not the bullshit authentic that you guys are now portraying as a thing. Because if you're sharing stuff that you don't want to share, that's inauthentic.
Yes.
Because you're performing as someone who does like to share.
Yeah.
So therefore,
You've negated the whole authenticity thing now.
exactly. But people don't see that. They just see it as like, oh, you know, I have to be doing this. I have to be vulnerable, or whatever that means anymore. And it's like, no, just be you. It's actually the easiest thing you can do. Just show up and be yourself. Like, because trust me, it's so much easier
Than trying to be someone else. Exhausting.
It's really exhausting. And then that's exactly like you said, you burn out. You're doing the things that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's where most people are at. When I speak to founders and entrepreneurs, they're sort of like, oh, content is so exhausting. Like, we meet us up and do these content days, and it's also trying to inspire other people, and they enjoy it when it's other people are doing it because it's fun. They're doing stuff they want to do. But when they sit down like, I must make this content, then it's sort of like it puts this barrier to what you're doing. And I think it's also what I was saying earlier about, you know, I don't want to monetize yet, especially with this podcast, or certain sponsors have come and asked me to do content because I don't fully resonate with it. And sometimes when I've been asked to do brand content, I feel like it's disingenuous, because I feel like I'm saying things because they're paying me to do it, not because I truly believe in it. And as someone who has a brand that is no bullshit,
that's kind of sticky.
The moment I compromise on that, then all
the whole thing goes out the window.
Exactly. I have to disclose brand deals. I have to disclose everything, but I won't ever sign up with a partner or a brand that I don't personally use myself, that I personally don't vouch for, because that is the definition of bullshit.
Yeah.
And I think that I've seen a lot of people out there at the moment who are just doing that and taking brand deals from anywhere. And like we were talking about creators and stuff, it's that fine line, because you are constantly creating content. And as soon as you start to thinking, oh, okay, great, I can get paid for this content, which I need to do, really. But then you're suddenly compromising on your values, because you're signing up with every single brand deal.
Yeah.
And you just kind of look like you're just, you know, for everyone, which is a bit weird.
100%. And like, there is a real risk to behaving like that, or like approaching your content and your income streams in this way, I think. And I think it does more damage long term than people realize. Like, I've been very slow to monetize my YouTube channel in terms of brand deals. I think in the whole 6 years, I've done maybe 3 sponsorships.
Really?
And that's not because I haven't had people in my inbox. I think maybe 3, max 4. And I've been very protective of my YouTube and how I come across. And I'm very much like you. Unless I feel like very aligned with this brand and this product, either because I personally use it, or even if I don't personally use it, I can assess that this would be very helpful to the people in front of me, and I would use it if I needed to. Because I am now associated with this brand. I have vouched for them. Like, there is a risk here. And so I really better believe in this thing. And there's also this idea of like fatiguing your audience. Like, no one wants to be sold to all the time. And I don't want to speak bad on creators, because like, this is also challenging. You put a lot of effort into this, and to an extent it's fine to want to be like, you know, compensated for your work. That's never an issue. But like, I have seen when a content creator only seems like they're showing up when there's a brand deal, and like the video is made for the brand deal. And you can see in the comments section, unfortunately, that people feel that, and they're like, it feels like you don't show up like you used to anymore. And that's what I mean when I say it can cause long-term damage to your reputation, because people can feel that whole sellout word or whatever it is. They feel like this is why you're here now. And then you lose that initial connection that grew you to the place where you're at. People stop feeling like they resonate with you and like they can enjoy just you as a creator. And so there is a balance. There is definitely a balance to be had when you decide to, you know, sign a brand deal or anything of that nature, or just collaborate with an organization in general.
So what should creators / business owners or anyone creating content do to kind of not burn out and actually monetize? Because at the end of the day, our time is finite. Like, we don't have all the time in the world to just create content and hope that money comes in. Like, you know, we are like, a lot of the time we are using it as a means to get business, which is why I was saying earlier about the business owner's strategy is completely different to content creator strategy. As a business owner, how much time should we be spending doing content? When is enough enough? When do we, like you said earlier, it's inevitable I'll get that lift. We don't know that. Like, so how do we work out how much time we should be spending on content? Like,
Yeah.
and everyone's obviously going to be different, but how would someone even approach calculating that is, and whether it's worth it? And, you know, a lot of time brand deals, like you said, in 6 years, you've only done 3 or 4. And you probably the first one took you a while to get in. Like, you're not going to get those offers straight away. So if you're running a business and you've already got expenses, how do you balance it?
I will speak more to the business owner, I think, than the content creator. I think start with looking at your numbers. So again, what is it that you're trying to achieve when you embark on this content creation journey or this journey of being on these platforms? Do you have certain revenue goals, or do you have certain acquisition goals in terms of number of clients that you want to acquire? That's a good starting point, because if I know, for example, that I need to acquire 10 clients to make my revenue goals, then that's a good starting point for me to decide how often I need to show up or where I need to show up. Because then like we mentioned before, will pick the platforms that I know my ideal customer is on. Maybe there's some background research. Maybe you already know because you're already on these platforms and you're like, when I speak to these people, but ideally you should already be speaking to your clients or trying to do some discovery, understanding where they exist, where they spend their time. So now, like I said, we've already cut off a lot of the other platforms, so we're not trying to spread ourselves too thin. Saved a lot of time here. Maybe we've picked 1 or 2 platforms. I don't really feel like you need more than that. So then it's about what kind of content is converting well, and where should I be spending my time? And that's why we saw that just before, like tracking these numbers. Those are the metrics you want to track, not views, not like likes. These are less important. They are indicators that people want to view your content. That's not an indication that someone wants to work with you and become a client. What is that conversion? And so if you're starting to track this data, and I forget some of the resources there are, but there are like link trackers, especially like things like YouTube,
Yeah.
tracking like where they're coming from. And
Yeah.
then I believe it's Ed Lawrence who I was watching, and he does some really good content for business owners who want to make content, because then you can start to see the type of content that converts. Now then we can spend our time optimizing for content that converts. And yes, we spoke about content that you might want to do just for the love of it, but that's more if you do enjoy making content. If you don't, then you're probably going to spend less time doing that anyway. And so we're optimizing for content that does convert. And then you have actual numbers to work with. So now you're not spending 10 hours, 20 hours a week on random content. Now we're actually focusing more of our time on the content that converts. We're outsourcing the bits that we don't want to do, and we're actually seeing that conversion, we're seeing that payoff in the business, as opposed to I'm just going to make loads of random content, kind of optimize for views. That video got loads of views, but actually nobody clicked and went into it, or 3 people clicked. That video over there got about half the views, but actually lots of people clicked to go see what my offer was. And actually 3 people signed into it, like, signed up for a sales call. Very, very different. So what you track will determine like where you spend your time, I think.
And I think that is one of the biggest things that I think founders just don't do enough is analytics. And I, even as someone who runs a marketing agency and consistently tries to remind people about analytics, they're looking at the vanity metrics, but they're not looking deeper at the demographics as to why people are there, more the behavioral economics of the stats, right? And that's what's more important. And I think that's, it's a massive thing. And I think if we go back again, like even take, my YouTube, I was thinking about this recently. I was like, I'm stopping for this month because I'm obviously traveling as well. And I don't want to put my pressure. I've got a lot of videos up now. I've got enough data. I am actually going to go back and spend time promoting those videos, because I haven't even done that. I've just released them and put them there. But I was like, if I then share them to the channels where I've already got a following and see if people click through to it, I can see whether it's worthwhile viewing it and see which content does better that way. So I was like, I need to spend time doing that as well. And I haven't given myself the time to do it. I think that when you're a busy founder, like there's so many things to do. It's like, how much time, like I said, do you spend doing it? Which I think nicely then leads me to my next question is, you're a software engineer. That's your main job. But you're spending all the time doing all this on the side. Like, have you ever thought about going full-time content creator, businesswoman mode, or like, and not saying give up software engineer, because obviously that's part of your multi-passionate, what you love doing, but, can you do that as a, as a full-time, business owner, or do you like being employed? What's your feeling?
What a great question. And one that I've grappled with many times.
I can't imagine that you've not thought about it.
Of course, like, every time somebody sees my channel, they're like, you still work? Like, you still employed? I'm like, yes. So yeah, I'm specifically like, I'm a site reliability engineer, which is like I would say like a subsection of this. And I've been doing that for about 5.5 years. So I've been a YouTuber on YouTube longer actually than I've been an
Oh,
engineer, which is
wow.
crazy to think. But I think when I think about it, if I had not been an engineer, I don't know if I would show up the way I do and have built what I had without that experience.
Right. So the last question I always ask all my guests
Okay.
is, what do you think is the biggest piece of bullshit in your industry right now? And you've got a lot of industries, so pick
Yeah,
one.
I'm like, okay, well,
but I
what
guess it's the
industry?
most. I guess it's the most, or the one that irks you the most, and just you really want to speak out against. What is the biggest piece of bullshit? I would say probably under the content creator, maybe that sort of that vibe. That's the most relevant here.
I think with the content creation, we kind of touched on it, is this idea that in order to be authentic, you have to showcase your whole life. I just have never subscribed to that. And I say to people, I have hours of me speaking online, and there are things that you just don't know about me. And it's because I don't want you to know them about me. They're for me, they're for my family. And so when I have these conversations, they're like, I feel like I have to do all of this, I have to showcase all of that, or and I'm not quite comfortable. I was like, if you're not comfortable, that's the answer. You don't share it. Don't share it. You can still do well in this space by sharing the bits that you are happy with and comfortable with. And that'll show up in the content, right? Like it will show that you're comfortable and excited about speaking about this versus I'm veering into territory that's not really for the public. And so I think that idea of what authenticity means as a creator is, yeah, I guess BS, that I'm just like, I'm not with you have to share everything at all, to be honest.
I'm glad that you said that, because I said the same thing, and I'm an oversharer. I love to overshare.
But like you're comfortable.
But that's
you're
just me
that's
in my
different.
life. I'm like that with everything, and
Yeah.
everyone knows lots of stuff about me because I'm an oversharer. So me doing
Yeah.
publicly, I'm just like, I don't really care what people know about
Yeah.
me. But obviously, I don't know everything. There's not intimate bits of my life, and like most of the stuff most people don't know much about my husband and my family, because that's the things that mean the most, and those are the most precious moments. I don't share them.
Yeah.
I share what I want to share and I'm comfortable sharing.
Yeah.
But again, you don't have to do any of that. It can just be business content. So I'm really glad you said that. But gosh, this has been such a valuable episode. I feel like
Honestly.
anyone who is, trying to create any content, who is not sure about how to show up, who's got multiple passions in their life, this has been a brilliant episode. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I very much enjoyed it. I always love speaking about YouTube. I love speaking about this stuff, multi-passionate living, basically bringing it all together, because I know people struggle with it, and I've been trying to find a meander my own way through this. And like I said, I just share what I learn as I learn it.
And I'm going to be putting all the links in the YouTube description like a good person so you can find more of your content. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Brilliant.